Thank you everyone for joining us for the Artificial Intelligence, Blockchain, and Cryptocurrency Forum 2021, Part 5. We are hosting today our 6th AI Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Forum. The event will kick off with thought leaders in the alternative investment industry to discuss a variety of topics in AI, blockchain, and cryptocurrency. This unique and successful event format deconstructs the traditional conference format by bringing the experts to you in the safety and comfort of your location of choice, which is home, hopefully your office, or wherever you are safe. Each panel and keynote is led by a key decision maker with deep knowledge and industry expertise. I'd like to thank Sudrania Fund Services and Diffuse for sponsoring today's event. Our first panel will be held. It's titled Insights from the Digital Back Office. It's hosted by Sudrania Fund Services. And I'm going to kick it over to Michael Corselli. And
thank
Shalin.
you, Jeremy.
Yes.
My name's Michael Corselli. I'm the founder of Flya. Today, I want to welcome a good friend of mine, Shalin Madan, with Sudrania Fund Services. We're going to do a fireside chat, very informal discussion about fund administration, back office services with regards to, crypto, digital assets. So Shalin, can you take a moment, just give the people attending today some background? Tell us your story, not the firm story. I want to hear your story.
Well, I am now over 21 years in the alternative investment business, which is weird because I'm actually 21 years old. I started as an allocator. I did that in the hedge fund business for about 10 years in New York with a consultant to European family offices very early. This was back in 2000. Moved over to the hedge funds world. Was a portfolio manager at the end of that tenure with one of the largest hedge funds in the world at that time. In 2010, decided to make a big and bold move. I moved to Florida. Seems like that's what people are doing now, but I feel like I had that foresight about 11 years ago. And I was tasked to help build a multi-asset class family office, which I did. It's a great place to be for 7 years. When I crossed 40 years old, I kind of got that entrepreneurial itch. I had always wanted to start a hedge fund, felt that I could compete with others, and I had ideas about what the world was going to look like, and I wanted to implement them. And so in 2017, I ventured off to start my own hedge fund. Bodhi Tree Asset Management is the firm. Still actually exists today, a little bit more of a family office. And I sought to pursue quantitative solutions. Ironically, during that time, I needed a service provider. And purely by happenstance, I ran into this startup called Sudrania Fund Services, and the founder, who I became very friendly with immediately. And I was actually one of the first customers, if not the first customer of the firm. So think about this firm starting as a third-party administrator, kind of trying to get its foot in the door with emerging managers like myself, and I signed up. Made sense, and I did that. And I was really focused on my own business. Kind of a year into my own, 2 years actually into my own business, I kind of saw the growth that was going on there, saw how difficult it was and still is, frankly, to raise money in the kind of, I call it the traditional liquid alternative space. And I actually I went to the founder of Cedrania and said, look, I like what you're doing. I'd like to provide initial kind of backing as the first external investor. And he was actually very happy to do that, and I did that, and that was the beginning of that relationship. Coming to 2019, I continued to see that business grow, and I decided, this is a really interesting business. I think I can make it. I think I can help make it happen. So, I actually wrote a fairly large check to really accelerate the business. and became a co-founder of the company at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And my job in particular was to utilize the competitive advantages that I saw of the company in terms of making headway in this back office space. Our thought was, and if one were to look at the internals of how our operations work, we're about twice as efficient as any other fund admin. And that's primarily due to the utilization of technology, which is what attracted me in the first place to the company. It was a very, very different mindset about how to pursue the back office. So, we were looking to actually acquire and roll up admins who didn't necessarily have a technology solution. And that was the original plan. It just so happened in the summer of 2020, we had an interesting opportunity to acquire a pioneer in the digital asset space. Now, mind you, this is about 18 months ago. Ethereum was at 200, Bitcoin's at 7,000 or so. I'm a super Bitcoiner and crypto bull, even during the winter. And I was looking for an opportunity like this with a fantastic operational team to basically take advantage of. And we had it, and we got it. And I made sure that, we were able to close on the deal.
So tell me, Shalin, tell me about Sodrania, right? Tell me about the firm. Tell me about your competitive edge in the fund administration business. And then I want to get back to, because there's a selection, there's three different audiences that you can speak to today. There's investors into digital assets, there's managers of digital assets, and there's service providers of digital assets. When we were both a lot younger, when I first met you, and you were in the family office space at the time, managing a $1 billion, plus family office. I was right beside you during the launch of a hedge fund. So I've seen you as a manager, and today as somebody who's providing services that make the industry actually run. And I remember when you started to talk to me about the firm, right? I remember the first day you brought it up. And I think one of the things about being in business, or two of the things about being in business, is yes, it's about making money. It's also about helping people, right? So this made sense to you. You immediately got this. So tell us what it is that you shared with me 5-6 years ago when you first brought it up that stood out to you about Sodrania and the competitive edge that Sodrania has.
What I began to learn is that technology was really underutilized, misutilized, or simply not utilized at all across the service provider industry. And I found that really interesting because as somebody who's been investing in startups as an angel investor, just on my own dime, frankly, since 2012, I had some decent success around that. I said, this is a real opportunity, and this is an amazing opportunity, frankly. And it's a great business. Anybody knows that business. It's a great business. It's not a sexy business, although it's certainly becoming once I explain. But it's a great business, and that's what you want. And you want to find a great business with great operators. So that is what really attracted me, was incredibly knowledgeable operators, a great business model. Business model being, a heavy utilization of tech to automate end-to-end, in this case, the fund administration aspect of the business, which in the past had been fairly staff heavy, or would take a long time to produce. In our case, because of automation, we can easily automate a more pedestrian equity fund in a day because it's just automatically done, right? And so that was the initial attraction. The secondary attraction, and what made it very interesting, was as we move into a digital world, it just so happened by happenstance, luck, whatever you want to call it, that, hey, wait a second, we have a technology team, which is now 125 strong, is larger than most fund admins actually. And we understand technology, and you can't process a digital asset with an analog solution. You need a digital solution. And so the fundamental issue in the fund admin space and the back office space in general is people are very good at what they do. I'm not denying that. Of course they are. They've been doing it for a long time, but they don't understand technology. And you know, we are in an exponential age. Okay, this notion that somehow technology is not going to be utilized in back office in 2031 is ridiculous. And so that's what attracted me, and the fact that we have such a head start in an understanding of this space from the technology side, and in this case, the accounting side, the high level, you know, fund administration side. That's what attracted me.
So Shalin, talk to us today about, you know, the rise of technology in the fund administration space. Like, what is it? What role is technology playing? Is it more than accounting? What is the role that technology is playing in fund admin?
From my purview, this is how I see it. There's haves and have-nots. Okay. So typically in the back office space, you're using a third-party solution for your technology, which is, you know, if it's an asset class that hasn't changed in 25, 30 years, like long-short equity, it's perfectly fine. There's no issues, right? Where the problem arises is you have to pivot, or something new comes along, or something is changing very rapidly. It becomes very detrimental to not have your own technology solution. And so there's only a handful of very large institutional firms who have their own technological solution, which frankly they suck. And you know, in the emerging space where we are, there's almost nobody. And so we think that we have a real opportunity by the head start that we have, by having a cloud-based solution as opposed to an enterprise solution, by owning the tech in-house, by having a technology team in-house, by being able to listen to client requests and pivot immediately, right, into different areas. In this case, it could be in the traditional hedge fund space, but more poignantly in the digital asset space, which is just changing every day. You need to have that in-house. You simply cannot keep up otherwise. And it's the thing about it, it's moving faster and faster. It's both scary and an amazing opportunity simultaneously. And this not only applies to back office, by the way, it's something that I realize applies to almost everything in our lives.
How big is Sudrania? How many like digital asset firms does it have as clients today?
Yeah, we you know, so like I said, when I became the first client, the company had revenues of about $10,000 a year, maybe. I mean, it's literally the first client. You know, we have grown, not at liberty to disclose the actual numbers, but I can kind of just say that we had been growing at 100% per year from 2018. And in 2021, we have grown 600% in terms of revenues. So just really gone into hyper growth, exponential, you know, growth. And to put that in numbers by way of funds, we started 2018 with about, 2020 with about 5 to 10 crypto funds under administration. We made an acquisition last year, which took that number to about 75, and we will start January 1st at 350, which is by far the most number of funds that you will find. In total, our funds under administration, the number of funds this year rose from 150 to 750. Our staff grew from 150 to 1,000 people. And, you know, I mean, you know, what else can I say? It's been a pretty amazing year, and we just don't really see it ending, frankly.
So how do you guys compare to like some of the big shops when it comes to, you know, these digital assets? So let's say I'm pondering launching a digital asset fund, and you know, I have my investors lined up, my seed capital, and I'm thinking about you know, my service providers. Like, how do you guys compete with like an SS&C in the digital asset space?
I think one thing people have to understand is that the digital and the analog worlds are splitting. We are the SS&C of the digital world. SS&C doesn't even have a digital presence at all, from what I understand. I could be wrong, but if they did, it would probably be more passive, long Bitcoin, Ethereum, the top of the chain sort of tokens. We do everything, and so the reason is it's a risk. We don't know what the future of digital. I mean, I do, but I think that in more conventional sense, we don't really know. And so, is it really worth the time of a large back office provider to, admin a smaller fund? And a lot of these funds are smaller, although the fund sizes have definitely grown. So I would say that, for instance, average fund size for us might have been, 15, 20 million at the beginning of the year. It's we are constantly now signing up $200 million plus crypto funds. That's how quickly it's growing.
Shalin, we've been doing this ABC forum for like 4 years now, and we've seen a remarkable amount of growth with some of our firms. They started at a couple $100 million, and today they have 20-40 billion dollars in assets under management. So that stat is, it's great. Congratulations on that. I want you to put on a different hat.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's also about, raising assets under management as, a fund manager. Right. But I want you to put the investor's hat on. Right. And if I'm like doing due diligence on a fund manager in the space, there's not a lot of track record. Right. But I love the space. I find somebody who knows what they're talking about, and I want to put some money to work. Like, what are some of the things that one needs to think about, when looking at back office for a digital asset manager?
Can that back office provider handle the increasing complexity that is transpiring in this space, the speed at which it's transpiring? So just a simple example, we're beginning to see hourly futures contracts in DeFi exchanges. I mean, that is insane. And you need to have a technology solution that can process, a lot of trades. We can easily process over 1 million trades a day, and we're moving that number exponentially, by the way. There's nobody else. There's at least one handful of admins who are those amongst this top that you mentioned who could even dare even try doing that. And we can. And so
in many respects, and I hate to put it bluntly, but there is actually nobody right now who can do what we do, particularly in the most complex areas. We believe that we have a near 100% monopoly in DeFi, for instance. Long passive crypto is different. If you just want to go long and strong Bitcoin, there's definitely going to be some others who do that. But some of the more complex stuff, whether it's high frequency crypto or cross exchange arbitrage or staking, all these various, really innovative areas that we're seeing in DeFi, I honestly, I believe that we are one of the few who can handle that. And there's a lot of different reasons why. It's not just the technology, it's operational constraints that we're seeing due to COVID as well, which I think is sometimes is underappreciated right now in the business.
So would it be fair to say that fund admin for digital assets, if done properly, is as sophisticated and maybe even more sophisticated and accurate than traditional stock and bond administration and accounting?
It's far more sophisticated. It's far more. You can't utilize the same systems in analog for digital. You just can't. It won't work. Which is why a lot of admins had tried to tip their hat and put their hat into the market, and then they backed out because it's just too much. You can't do it. So it's better to ring fence whatever you have.
So the digital asset side, what's the typical like NAVs? Is it monthly? Is it daily? What are the prints? And we have some questions that I also, I'm going to throw a question in with that. Is the growth in the space due to profits or new investments? So that they're asking about capital flows into digital assets. So if you can hit both of those questions.
We have not seen the assets really flow in a way that you would expect. I mean, I can tell you that on our platform, we have numerous managers, some of frankly would like to just send a personal check to, that are just generating triple digit returns with no drawdown. And, if you really go in and understand what they're doing, it's sustainable. It's just in my being a dinosaur in this business now, in my experience, that it's just impossible to generate those sort of returns consistently and there not be investment dollars coming into the future. So I do not believe that we have even scraped the surface in terms of flows. The original thesis of why we entered this space was a very strong belief that it was going to institutionalize. And we just, I think that is happening. I think those discussions are happening. I think family offices are scratching their head and kind of going, maybe we should do this, or maybe we should go along some Bitcoin and yeah, you should.
So the institutionalization has been happening and you see it in the early stages.
I mean, we are in 1994 internet.
So talk to me about DeFi. How is DeFi performing? And, the like big picture in comparison to all the other portions of crypto assets.
Yeah, DeFi is definitely the most exciting part. So somebody had asked, what is DeFi? It's decentralized finance. You can definitely look it up in terms of what that is, but it involves different strategies around staking and lending and effectively what it's trying to do is it literally is what it means, decentralizing how financial transactions are occurring. Right now, if you think about it, there's big mega providers who basically dictate how we operate in the financial space, and DeFi basically is democratizing that. And it's definitely something that we didn't even know about. I mean, I kind of knew it, but I mean, barely knew what it was a year ago. Whereas today it's becoming, definitely the hottest area. And so there's just massive opportunities that a lot of smart young guys are exploiting in this space. And I kind of say smart and young as, kind of boldface underscore, because that is really what this space is about. It's not about the 60, 65-year-old hedge fund manager who had a great track record, picking stocks in 1983. It is really about the next generation. That's what I'm looking at.
So there's good growth. Yeah.
Massive growth.
Massive growth. I like that. So there's another question that is coming in.
Do we have a DeFi trading platform? We do not have we're not a trading platform. What we will do is find if there is a trading platform. It's kind of a misnomer in DeFi, but you can look up platforms like Uniswap is kind of the big DeFi platform, and then there's other platforms like PancakeSwap, SushiSwap that basically help facilitate investing into different cryptocurrencies, as opposed to, say, going through a Coinbase, which is centralized, right? So if you really believe the DeFi thesis, Coinbase doesn't exist 10 years from now because it is the antithesis of decentralization, right? So that is just something to think about if anybody who's investing in Coinbase is a way to play crypto. My personal thing.
There's a question here. How are you tracking what managers hold in the DeFi space?
Yeah, we have our ways. We have software that we've created. We do use third-party applications for security and checks, wallet checks, for instance, which is basically the way that we can verify assets. So we have and that's a big deal, is to make sure the assets are there, that they are secure, that there's no funny business going on. We monitor all of that very closely.
So on your description, it's SOC 1, SOC 2, and SOC 3. I guess you would say compliant Sudrania. tell us what the difference is between SOC 2 compliance and SOC 3 compliance with regards to handling of data.
Well, SOC 3 really applies to cybersecurity, and that's a really, really, really big deal these days. So having a cybersecurity, understanding what the methods of cybersecurity that a firm is using in this space in particular is critically important. We have been SEC audited, perfect audit. I think they learned things from us. We have institutional grade cybersecurity software that we use. A large part of our budget, which we reinvest continuously into systems and security, is not just being able to handle how to process these trades, but rather it's the security around these trades as well.
All right. So Shamir is basically asking, are there always, so they are always held digitally, no cold wallet storage. So they are always held digitally, no cold wallet storage, question mark. I don't know exactly what he's
Storage
asking.
is basically taking your tokens, your holdings offline. And that's something that we have processes around. We generally are migrating towards not accepting cold storage wallets because it's, basically, if you think about it, somebody can basically put your tokens on a I think I have one here actually.
What, like a USB?
I have it. Yeah, I try to see if I can find it for you. I have my own cold storage wallet, but then I can just walk away, and that's it, right? And there's no recourse. So, generally speaking, it's not something that we are comfortable with, or any admin is comfortable with.
So we have 2 minutes here left in our talk today. What are some of the closing thoughts for the 3 different types of viewers of our fireside chat today? What's the closing thought for an asset manager who's thinking about launching a digital asset fund, an investor who's like looking to invest in one, or a service provider that's servicing the space?
Do not look at this space as some weird kind of, it's a bubble or this and that. There is going to be a convergence that is going to transpire between traditional finance and what we're seeing in the crypto digital asset space is into one. This notion that you're going to have a stock certificate that you got from Apple, buying Apple stock, it's not going to happen. In fact, maybe Apple becomes a token. That is actually where it's going. So this segregation that people have in people's minds is no different than 1995 when Amazon came out. So, why am I going to buy a book online? I could just go to Barnes and Nobles, and then it didn't take that long for Barnes and Nobles to basically not exist anymore, other than some token stores. So that is what people have to understand. This is actually very disruptive to the banking system. It's disruptive to our traditional way of thinking about finance in general. And again, I think that sometimes people, and I used to be like that in the family offices world as well, when you're not like in touch with the situation, you can make broad sweeping generalizations. I would really encourage people to actually do the work, sharpen your pencil, okay, and do the actual work and understand what I'm saying, that crypto and DeFi and digital assets in general are going to converge. The world is converging, number one. Number two, the speed at which the internet took hold the speed at which crypto takes hold will make what we saw with the internet look like a dinosaur move, because things are just happening so fast now. Like, smartphone adoption, all these different things are happening, 100 years for people that have cars, 10 years for smartphones, and just a couple of years for crypto and digital. That's how fast it's occurring. It's not going to be 20 years. It's not going to be a crash like 2001 and 2. We had that already, in fact, in 2018, 19. So all these notions that I've heard people, it's not happening. It's changing. It's going to continue to change. The notion that's not going to work is basically the notion that the world won't change anymore.
So listen, congratulations on the partnership that you formed and the offering that you guys are in. You're in a very exciting space. I want to thank you for your time today, and thanks Sodrania for joining Flya. We appreciate you guys. And we went over 2 minutes, so I want to be respectful to everybody's time. Thank you, Shalin.